time to get started doing some work. I'm gonna do some body work today. Let me get my table. Show you guys the way I do it. It's probably not the professional way, but it seems to be working for me. So I use this little TV tray as my mixing station, and then I grab my wax paper and some blue tape. And that goes right on top of that, so I have somewhere to mix. Let me get that set up, and then yeah. All right, first things first, clean. The way I do it, I use blue towels, rubbing alcohol. After I vacuumed all the dust from the previous body work. So I'm gonna be filling little pinholes like this right here. You can see that. First thing first, alcohol, paper towel. Alright, I have two types. I use Bondo. I have two types. I have a stage 2 with a cream hardener and the mix. And then I have a regular glazing spot putty that I'll do to fill small pinholes that are here. So, mixing this stuff is pretty important to get the mix right. It has the instructions on the back. A 1.5 inch circle with a 1/2 inch bead of cream hardener. Alright, time to mix some Bondo. Get our stage 1 and 2. We're going to do stage 2 with some cream hardener first. So I can get this thing to stay. This is going to be tricky. Small blob. It's pretty hot today too, so cream harder when it's this warm out. You don't really need to use a lot of it because it'll dry super quick, and then it becomes like impossible to work with. So just a dab, because it's 80 degrees out. So slap a little hardener on there, maybe a little less than normal. I'll do a 1/2 inch. Mixing it is important too, the way you mix it. Keep the air bubbles out. Kind of want to smash it really. You don't want to put too much air in there, so. Small bit of this. This is really hard with one hand. You don't have much time, like I said, so you gotta be kind of quick. It's always good to put a little extra too, so when it comes down to sanding, you have a little bit more to work with in those spots that you're trying to fill. And you can see it's already drying up. Now it's not usable no more. And that is about as much time as you get when it's this warm out. And it's not easy with one hand. Alright guys, I'm back inside the house. Fortunately the GoPro died yesterday, so you didn't get to see any of the sanding or anything out of the Bondo. I think I got footage of it getting laid down. I don't know, we'll see. About to head back out into the garage and try and knock some more stuff out. Hopefully I'll get a layer of primer over some of the spot putty. That way I can move on to some 400, 600, 800 wet sand for my base coats. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so we're back in the garage. You can see this is what I've done so far. I don't know if you can get in there close. It's kind of hard to tell on the GoPro, but you can see some of these spots that I need to fill with my glaze putty. What I'll do is hit my primer filler over that and then hit that with a 180 320. Probably 320 depending on how smooth it comes out when I lay the primer. Do a 320 dry and then work back into spot putty, glaze putty, pinhole filling. Toss all this stuff. Try and get some air blowing through here. Alright, well, got it all cleaned up. Did that, had a little break for a minute, had to help unload a new stove that we got, new used stove. And I had fingers up while I was carrying it. Sliced them wide open. So it's gonna make for interesting rest of the day. So see these pinholes? Basically, I finished painting, or spot filling all over here. Got a little. Had to go back and redo a few spots. I ground down this spot right here. Ground this spot flat right here because there's like a spot weld with a slag of metal sticking out. So what I'm gonna do now is tape off my area, lay a couple coats of primer across the cowl here, get all the tape covering all the extra spots over there that's not getting primered, and then I'll lay it down. Hopefully it comes out good. Alright. Basically, you want to fucking tape it off. Excuse me. Tape it all off. Make sure everything that you don't want to get primer on is covered. So I got this bottom half. I'm probably going to replace this strut anyway, so it don't really matter. Everything's spot filled with the putty. I got to do that. It's the spot weld that was sticking up. I had to took a 40 grit grinder on there and flattened it out, and then threw some Bondo over that, sanded it down, and then filled up all my putty or my pinholes. You can see some of the pinholes over here, all those little red dots. That stage 2 primer, stage 2 Bondo is kind of pinhole primer, pinhole Bondo basically. Nothing but pinholes all day. Kind of a pain in the ass, but a hell of a lot easier to work with than regular Bondo. This is what I'm using. This is what I used: fiberglass and some metal patching to cover up most of my holes. Big holes, small holes I was able to get with just Bondo. You should be able to see that. Pretty much. It's sticky on the inside of that, so you stick it to the metal or around the outside of the metal, and then lay your fiberglass, which is that stuff. See the smaller ones? I just had to throw some fiberglass on there, and this is pretty much what it looks like afterwards, with the spot putty pinholes covered and Bondo, whatnot. I'm using 9x12, so it's kind of to work with when you're solo. There's a lot of plastic to deal with, but gotta do what you gotta do. You want clean primer. Whoa. Again, I do not recommend standing on a chair with wheels, but at the moment, I'm doing it. If I fall, you'll get a good laugh. And yes, I will slow-mo that. Our makeshift paint tent. Look at that. I think I'm happy with that. Looks pretty good to me. Only thing is we gotta use some of these maybe this battery right here. Slide that battery into the corner. There you go. Whoa. Well, that's good. We need to be able to get out, so that's fine. This guy can blow around a little bit if he wants. There we go. Got a paint tent, and of course, we gotta have music. Here we go. One primer trick. It's a little warm already here, but you can get some lukewarm water and a bowl. Drop it in, let it sit about 5 minutes, but don't do too hot of water because I did that once. Started shaking the can because you're gonna have to shake it anyway, and it blew out the bottom, and it was a fucking mess. Funny, but a mess. Safety first, yo. Gotta make sure there's no spiders in here. I'm gonna do probably about 3 coats, about 15 minutes in between each coat. I'm just gonna do a towel right now, and then I'll get a fresh can for driver's side.